Hi guys, Victoria Paxton here. Thanks for stopping back by my YouTube channel. Okay, couple of things really quick. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. Next thing. It's hot, the hair is up, sorry. It is what it is. So, I have the Werther's in my mouth. So today I am doing Karen Carpenter. I absolutely love her music. Yeah. Okay, so let me get this thing started. It's gonna take a while to get through this, but it's important, so sit back, grab a drink, let's go. So Karen Carpenter was born on March 2nd, 1950 in New Haven, Connecticut. She moved with her family to Downey, California when she was 13 years old. She began to play the drums in high school and joined the Long Beach State Choir after graduation. After several years of touring and recording music, Karen and her older brother Richard, which made up the Carpenters, they were signed by A&M Records in 1969. Okay, so the band The Carpenters became a huge success throughout the 70s. So initially, Karen was a full-time drummer, right? But then she ended up taking the role of the lead singer. So her brother Richard was considered like a child prodigy because of playing the piano. I guess he was amazing from a young age. Interestingly enough, Karen always considered herself a drummer who sang, not a singer who drummed. Wow, yeah, that's crazy. In the mid-70s, Richard developed an addiction to Quaaludes. The Carpenters frequently canceled tour dates, and they stopped touring altogether after their September 4th, 1978 concert at the MGM Grand in Vegas. MGM Grand in Vegas is a nice show. I've been there. In 1980, Karen performed a medley of standards and a duet with Ella Fitzgerald on the Carpenters television program Music, Music, Music. Wow, Ella Fitzgerald, that's amazing. In 1981, after release of their Made in America album, which turned out to be their last, the Carpenters returned to the stage and went on some promotional tours, including an appearance for the BBC program Nationwide. Now was the last song the Carpenters recorded in April of 1982. Although Richard was concerned about Karen's health, he still thought she sounded as amazing as ever. Okay, so Karen had a complicated relationship with her parents. They had hoped that Richard's musical talents would be recognized and that he would enter the music business, but they were not prepared for Karen's success. What do you mean you weren't prepared? How can you be prepared for one kid's success but not for the other child? That's just screwed up. Karen continued to live with her parents until 1974. In 1976, Karen bought 2 Century City apartments that she combined into one. Her doorbell chimed, "We've only just begun." How cool is that? She collected Disney memorabilia and she likes to play softball and baseball. When she was little, she played baseball with the neighborhood kids. She always got picked before her brother got picked. She studied baseball statistics and became a fan of the New York Yankees. My son was like that with baseball statistics. It was insane how much he could remember, but yet he would struggle with remembering stuff for tests at school. Yeah. Anyway. So in the 1970s, Karen became the pitcher on a celebrity all-star softball team. That's cool. Petula Clark, Olivia Newton-John, and Dionne Warwick were her closest friends. In early interviews, Carpenter showed no interest in marriage and dating. She believed a relationship wouldn't survive her touring. She was touring all the daggone time. Carpenter admitted to Olivia Newton-John that she longed for a happy marriage and a family. She later went on to date Mike Curb, Tony Danza. Wow, I bet they were a pretty couple. Terry Ellis, Mark Harmon, Steve Martin, and Alan Osmond. Wow. After a whirlwind romance, she married real estate developer Thomas James Burris on August 3rd, 1980, in the Crystal Room of the Beverly Hills Hotel. Burris was divorced with an 18-year-old son, and he was 9 years older than her. A new song that she performed at the ceremony, "Because We Are in Love," was released in 1981. The couple settled in Newport Beach. That's a nice area. Carpenter desperately wanted children, but Burris had undergone a vasectomy and refused to get an operation to reverse it. Schmuck. Their marriage did not survive this disagreement, and it ended 14 minutes later. Yeah, they got divorced 14 minutes. Sorry, 14 months later. Burris was living beyond his means, borrowing up to $50,000 at a time from his wife, to the point that reportedly she only had stocks and bonds left. So, in other words, he milked her dry, people. Carpenter's friends said Burris had become abusive towards Karen. Yeah, that sucks. Karen came and a close friend recounted an incident in which she and Carpenter went to their normal hangout, the Hamburger Hamlet, and Carpenter appeared distant emotionally. So they normally had a specific booth that they sat in. Well, Karen chose a different table. She was wearing large dark sunglasses, and she was unable to eat. She was just crying the entire time. So, according to Kamen, the marriage was the straw that broke the camel's back. Wow. In September 1981, Karen revised her will and left her marital home and its contents to Burris, but left everything else to her brother and her parents, including her fortune estimated at $5 to $10 million, which, today that's like $200 million, Carpenter filed for divorce on October 28, 1982. Okay, so apparently Karen had dieted since high school. She was always dieting. In 1973, Karen saw a concert photo of herself and thought she looked way too heavy, so she began a strict diet and exercise program. By September of 1975, Karen weighed only 91 pounds. At live performances, fans reacted with gasps at her gaunt appearance, and many wrote to Karen and Richard asking what was wrong. She refused to declare publicly that she was in ill health. In her 1981 nationwide appearance, she simply said she was pooped. She was tired. Richard later said he and his parents didn't know how to help her. In 1981, Karen told Richard that she had a problem and she needed help. Karen spoke with Cherry Boone, who had anorexia, and she contacted Boone's doctor for help. She was hoping for a quick fix, as she had performing and recording obligations. The doctor told her treatment would take 1 to 3 years. She then chose to be treated in New York City by psychotherapist Steve Levenkron. By late 1981, Carpenter was using thyroid replacement medication, which she obtained using the name Karen Burris, to increase her metabolism. Wow, she was in deep, y'all, at that point. She used the medication in conjunction with increased consumption of 80 to 90 laxatives every night. Wow. Despite Levenkron's treatment, including a confiscation of medications that Karen had misused, her condition continued to deteriorate and she lost more weight. Karen told Levenkron that she felt dizzy and her heart was beating irregularly. Finally, in September 1982, she was admitted to Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, where she was placed on intravenous nutrition. The procedure was successful and she gained some weight in a relatively short time, but this ended up putting a strain on her heart, which was already weak from years of an improper diet. Carpenter returned to California in November of '82, determined to reinvigorate her career, finalize her divorce, and begin a new album with Richard. On December 17th, 1982, she gave her last singing performance in the multipurpose room at the Buckley School in Sherman Oaks, California, singing Christmas carols for her godchildren, their classmates, and their friends. On September 11th, 1983, Karen made her last public appearance at a gathering of past Grammy Award winners who were commemorating the award show's 25th anniversary. She seemed frail and worn out, but according to Dionne Warwick, she was vibrant and outgoing, exclaiming, "Look at me, I've got an ass." She had also began to write songs after returning to California, and she told Dionne that she had a lot of living left to do. On February 1st, 1983, Carpenter saw her brother for the last time and discussed new plans for the Carpenters and resuming their touring schedule. A few days later, on February 4th, Carpenter was scheduled to sign final papers to make her divorce official. Shortly after waking up that morning, she collapsed in her bedroom at her parents' house. Paramedics found her heart beating once every 10 seconds. She was pronounced dead at Downey Community Hospital at 9:51 a.m. Her funeral was held February 8th, 1983 at Downey United Methodist Church. Approximately 1,000 mourners attended, including Dorothy Hamill, Olivia Newton-John, Petula Clark, and Dionne Warwick. Her estranged husband, Thomas Burris, attended. He put his wedding band into the casket. Carpenter was buried in Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Cypress, California. Okay, so in 2003, her body was moved in order to be put into a mausoleum at the Pierce Brothers Valley Oaks Memorial Park in Westlake Village, California. An autopsy revealed on March 11, 1983. An autopsy released on March 11, 1983, ruled out a drug overdose, attributing death to imantine cardiotoxicity due to anorexia nervosa. Carpenter had a blood sugar level of 1,110 milligrams per deciliter, more than 10 times the average. Wow. There were a few things the coroner claimed 2 years after her death, but people said it wasn't true. So I guess the coroner came out a couple years later and started running his mouth. Okay, you guys. Okay, so Karen came through. She looked amazing. She didn't look sickly like she did at the end of her life. You know, she looked like the way she did in the 70s before she started crash dieting. She looked so good. She was, healthy. She just looked really good. And it's strange when I connect with spirits, but when they're in a good place, they just have, I know it sounds so kitschy, but they just have like a glow to them, I don't know, they just look good, Okay. So she went on to talk to me about her godchildren, her nieces, her nephew, how much she missed Richard and Mary, who I'm assuming, because I didn't ask, that Mary is Richard's wife. So she went on to talk about how well she's doing where she is and how, she wouldn't change anything. Okay, so I told her I needed to ask her some questions and, talk about some things that might be uncomfortable, and she said, okay. So I asked her about her parents and her relationship with them. Okay, so she went on to say that she felt like the rough part of her relationship came more from her mom than her dad. She said, she always felt like she was second-class citizen next to her brother Richard. And she said she never let, the way her parents made her feel, she didn't let that attitude go against her brother Richard because she loved him. And, she respected him and she would never do that. But she did say that she said that they were always so proud of Richard and his accomplishments. But she said it seemed like when it came to her accomplishments, they really couldn't have cared less, which, yeah, I just don't understand that. And I had no problem telling her, like, when you're a parent, you accept all your kids. You know what I mean? And I told her, how could they not love your accomplishments, And she said that, Richard had always been amazing from the time he was little. She wasn't like that when she was little. She didn't become successful in her, quote, career until she was a little bit older. So she said, they were used to like, applauding Richard, but not her. But she said, she didn't want to dwell too much on it because, her relationship with her parents is totally different today than it was back then. And, she said, my parents weren't perfect, but neither was I. So, which is pretty cool. Yeah, she said that her relationship with him today is really good. It's in a really good place, that they worked hard on, her parents apologized for their issues and she apologized to her parents for her issues. And so that's pretty cool. Yeah. She said a lot of her issues when it came to her parents, a lot of it were due to her insecurities. So she said, yeah, my parents kind of looked down on me, but a lot of it were because of her insecurity. So she's basically trying to take the blame off of her parents, which I explained to her she shouldn't do that. They were her parents. They were older. They're the ones that screwed up on that aspect. She went on to say that as time went on, every time she saw a picture of herself, she thought she was just huge, and she just didn't like what she saw in the mirror at all, and she said, when you're on stage in front of all these people, like, you can't be fat. And that's what she thought she was. She thought she was fat. She said, today she doesn't feel that way, but she very much did when she was alive. She went on to talk about her insecurities of being alone. And here we go again with another successful person that felt alone. It's just so sad. She said even after she married her husband, she felt alone. She was lonely. She was lonely. I asked her when she first started feeling alone. I told her how, so many other artists had said the same thing. She said a better question would be, when did I not feel alone? And I was like, wow. She said she remembers feeling lonely even as a small child. And I kind of understand that, because her parents boosted up her brother and just kind of schlepped her aside. So, she has them to thank for that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Okay, so I said, look, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, your anorexia. We need to talk about that. She said she had been abusing laxative pills a long time before it ever came out. She said, at my worst, I was doing 80 or 90 pills a day. At my best, I was doing 10, 15, 20 a day. She said, but I had been using them for a really long time. Yeah. She said the cycle and the steps of her mental illness were exhausting. She said it exhausted her. And she said she would literally count every morsel of food that she put in her mouth. She said, I would calculate, okay, how many calories did I just consume? And she said, and if I went over by what I thought I was able to have, she said, I just beat myself up the whole time about it. And she said it was exhausting. And that's exactly how it sounded. It sounded exhausting. Yeah, so she went on to talk about it was like a ritual. When she ate, it was like a ritual of, preparing the food and then picking and choosing what she could eat calorically so she didn't go over that. And she said she didn't like to eat in front of other people. And she said it was this ritual. And she said it was something that she did every time she ate. And I was like, wow. So she said, which is pretty bizarre, not bizarre, just different, that in November of 1982, she felt like she was on borrowed time. And apparently this was after she had been through like a rehabilitation center or something, and she had gained some weight. And she said she felt like she was on borrowed time. And she said she was amazed every single morning when she would wake up, because she really thought she was going to die. She could feel it. She said, she tried to stay positive, but deep down, she said she didn't tell another human being, but deep down she knew she was on borrowed time. She knew she was going to die. So she said she didn't like to dwell on her illness and her death, because she's in such a different place today. But she feel like she's done so well and gotten through all of that, She talked about how when she was alive, she had always wanted to have kids. Like, she really wanted to have kids. She said she works with kids on singing and playing the drums. And she says, playing the drums was always her first love. And she said now she's surrounded by kids and she absolutely adores it, that's so cool. I said, she was talking about how she teaches all these kids how to play drums. I said, wow, you're actually in a really noisy place then. And she kind of laughed and said, yeah, I guess most people would think it was really noisy. So I asked her about her marriage to Thomas Burris, and she said that she would never harbor any ill will towards him because they both had their issues, but that she just couldn't live like that anymore. But she said, you know, that's in the past, and I wish him nothing but the best. So that was about it, y'all. I didn't have a ton of time with her, but it was really cool, and I learned a lot. And I think it's really sad how her parents treated her, and I'm glad that they have a better relationship where they are now, you know. Okay, guys, so be nice, be kind, stay safe, stay healthy. I hope you're having a great week. It's actually gorgeous in DC today. The sun is shining. It's hot in this room. That's why my hair is up. But outside, oh my gosh, it's like 75. It's gorgeous, y'all. It's gorgeous. I like fall, but fall means winter's coming, and I hate winter. So. All right, guys, so stay safe, be nice, be kind, stay healthy, and that about does it for me. Bye, guys.